Chris, so great to sit together with you. I remember I think you joined my first webinar back in the day in RPA. I even worked for you, learned so much about you, so looking forward spending some quality time with you. And I can't help reflecting the whole market getting excited for the development of AI. You are, one of the luminaries, but also you were working on many things for many years, so it's not just coming out of nowhere. How are you reflecting on that? Generative AI, agentic AI, is it help or hindrance? Are you smiling at things, or are you getting excited?
Look, I'm always excited about AI. I mean, the whole reason for me getting into artificial intelligence was that this is such a complex topic.
Yeah,
it touches almost every area of mathematics. And if it ever works, the economic lever is huge, right? So this is my motivation. Even if it doesn't work, it's very interesting scientifically. But now it seems that stuff is getting to work. But we're always making the same mistakes. I mean, I've been in this for 30 years now almost. This is sad, right? I'm old. But the point is that there's always this one algorithm that is supposed to fix it all. And then this algorithm is being renamed, right? First it was machine learning, then it got deep learning, and then actually what it was short-term, long-term memory networks, blah. Now we have transformer algorithms. Transformer algorithms are based on multi-layer perceptrons. They're based on perceptrons, which is the most simple neural network. But now we have to call them blah, whatever, right? Then we have agents, right? What is an agent? An agent just means that instead of being very general, you're being specific, right? This is like the oscillation between PC and client server. I mean, this IT seems to be this oscillating system, right? So from centralized to distributed.
You're talking to a failed historian. I like that. Exactly.
That's it, right? So there is a lot of progress. There is never that come to Jesus moment where one algorithm will fix it all. There's a lot of people collecting money in the market with totally false claims. A lot of stuff, like in science funding, is already old-fashioned by the time you come out of it. A lot of old-fashioned things are still needed and required in the systems. So this whole thing, hype versus research, I think that's an important debate, that if you really want to get into AI or if you really want to make use of AI, you can use the hype because that makes it placeable. And you can get budget with it, and you can acquire clients with it, and the clients can acquire clients in all this.
But listening to you, you're the technology genius. You understand all that most clients don't understand. And what are the discussions you have with clients? How much translations do you have to do? But then also, can you just elaborate on your point, the investor sentiment? Because at times I struggle, and you seem to struggle as well.
Well, look, this is my biggest problem or weakness. I actually like to explain how the technology works, and then people listen open mouth and they go like, "Wow," and blah. But what they're actually saying is, "I don't give a fuck." Excuse my English. I don't care. Is all we're interested in the business world is what business effects will it have. And of course, you see these totally crazy things. You have one-person unicorn companies. Like, how is a single person ever supposed to make $1 billion? Okay, they can invent an algorithm that will eventually get there, but the single-place algorithm doesn't do the job, right? Even if you were Jürgen Schmidhuber and you invented long-term, short-term memory networks, which became deep learning, or which was actually based on work from Sepp Hochreiter, right? You are not the one making the billions, right? Same thing, Meta poaching people from OpenAI. I think this is such an open war between these two companies, right? This is not about how much money can this one person make for Meta. This is about how much can it hurt the product development of OpenAI. Right? This is the whole point.
How do you cut to the market noise? I think I could just listening to you, I'm nodding away, but I know how difficult it is to cut through that noise. How do you help to cut through that noise in the market?
See, the whole point why I ever would sit on a stage and why we're having this talk is because when I watch the AI gurus on YouTube, these guys who haven't dealt like 5 months using ChatGPT, I just get flabbergasted. Like, this is so wrong. The stuff they're saying is so wrong. And this is why I think we need a more thorough, technical, fact-based discussion here on what AI can do and what it can't do and what is good about it and what is not good about it.
If you reflect back, I mean, you're doing it for 30 years. What are the key learnings? And from those learnings, what you're trying to get across in those discussions to be more meaningful?
So the first point is, I can say I am very fortunate because I came out of the network world, right? I was dealing with routing and these funny things that came about when the internet was being set up. This means that I was not part of one of the 3 or 4 tribes in the artificial intelligence space. I was not part of the systems dynamics part. I was not part of the symbolic logical part. I was not part of the statistical part, and I was not part in evolutionary algorithms. These are people, they all fight for the same research money, and this is why they are so religious. And these algorithms don't mix normally, but they need to mix in the end. That's number one learning, is that you need hybrid algorithms to actually get to a more general approach. And this is also why we see agents now, right? Because general approaches are hard to do. But we'll get to that later, I hope, when we can talk about agents. The second biggest learning to me is that I've always built technology and it worked fine, yet the technology, even though it had amazing results, like triple the output of a chicken farm, automate 98% of stuff and so on, we couldn't sell it. And that is because people are not rational about what they want to do. People are adverse to change. People are based on very security-focused or safety-focused in these security, not in an IT security sense, but in stability kind of sense. And I now am in a position where I still get to develop an AI platform, right? But most of my time I spend talking to people to help them change. And the problem is that an organization is organic. And any organism has an immune system. And the immune systems of organizations are very strong. Very, very strong, because there's a lot of people who have something to lose. Ultimately, their jobs, but that is not the ones who are fighting most. It's the ones that lose influence that are fighting most. And change management in organizations is the hardest thing. And if you look, this is like the rich and the poor, right? The gap is widening on the one side. We have the companies that are based on AI and the companies that try to use AI. And because of this massive amount of change management, these drift further and further apart, right?
And we learned that, I think, again, being the felt historian that I am, I look at other technology shifts. Cloud, we haven't really articulated what the different kind of working. And I feel at the moment with AI, it seems to be the same ways we don't articulate what's a different way of working. How shall we think about picking up your point on change management? How we have to literally reimagine operating model to really take advantage. Yet, while we still struggle to articulate many of those things, how to explain why call it hype, call it excitement, call it something else, but what's the big change? Why the change now?
On cloud computing, my absolute favorite talk about cloud computing that really explains it all is Simon Wardley. I don't know how many years ago, this must be 10 years ago. He talked about when he was still working for Canonical, the Ubuntu guys, right? He gave this talk about cloud computing, and he said he talked to an IT expert. So he asked the taxi driver in London, what's cloud computing? And the taxi driver said, it's like computers on the internet, isn't it? I still recommend this talk today, because we pretend to know what cloud is and we pretend to use it. This is like our old chancellor, Ms. Merkel. She said that the internet is new territory for us. And she was laughed at dramatically, right? But still right, the internet's still new territory for us. And the same is true about AI. We have not even thought about what AI's effect is. In a positive sense, in a business sense, what can this do for us? But also in a negative sense, like what will it do to us? And AI can be fantastic and be horrible, depending on how we use it. And we have not defined what it is. So to me, in the business sense, AI is all about automation, right? That's it. AI is all about automation. And it doesn't matter whether you automate the doing of a task or you automate a conversation or it's always about automation.
I couldn't agree more. So I probably haven't spent much time in the space, learn from you. But then again, if I reflect on the discussions, on the history of the RPA discussion, we started as a North Star, going end-to-end process automation, really solving the big problems, but then the market retrenched, task automation, employee productivity. Are we back to almost the same issues that we almost be, we talk about the big, ambitious North Star, but the reality is somewhere else? Or do we see fundamental change?
This is fantastic. All right, great that you're talking about this. The real challenge that we face is that we don't know what automation is. Like most people, when they talk about automation, they think about a factory, an assembly line, standardized products, economies of scale. Or if you take this into the modern times, like digitization, you talk about programs or agents or, well, just software as compared to the hardware stuff that is normally considered with automation. But this is not automation. This is absolutely not automation. This is predefined stuff, determined stuff, right? Because we thought up something that we collected enough money because there was enough to do to exploit these economies of scales. We program these things. We pre-program them like a factory. We create an assembly line. That's like writing a program, and then that assembly line can do one thing. If we're really cool, it builds a modular platform, and probably the most elaborate industry here is the car industry, right? Is doing that. But it's all about exploiting economies of scale. And that is what we call automation. And this is the RPA thing, right? When we came on the market talking about AI-based automation, we were talking about actually automatons, independent machines that you would say, go do this for me, and it would go off and do it, right? Other people were talking automation. They were thinking assembly line. And this is what RPA is, right? RPA is an assembly line. It says, do this, do this, do this, do this. Maybe you can combine many bots and so on, but that's what it is. This is not true automation. The big step is, I think this is what we hide behind the word agentic now. You tell a machine, I want you to do this, go away, do it, I don't care how. Right? And you have not predefined it. And you are going to give the same task to the machine in different words. Or you want a slightly different task because you want your coffee with sugar and I want it without sugar, whatever, right? These are similar tasks. Go off, make a coffee. But there's tons and tons of varieties.